The simplified skeletal model you see here is identical to the one I used when covering the muscles of the torso from the front, except this time we will of course be viewing it from behind. Things of note from this angle would be the triangular sacrum at the back of the pelvis, as well as the scapula or shoulder blades, which are also very triangular in shape. Remember that the pointiest end of the scapula will always be pointing outwards away from the torso, while the flat side will be angled inwards. With that, let's start adding musculature to our mannequin. First, we have the rhomboids. These muscles originate from the upper base of the spine and attach along the inner side of the scapula, forming a diamond shape on either side. The rhomboids are responsible for moving the scapula into different positions, such as raising them upwards along with the shoulders, rotating them down with the arms positioned behind the torso, or retracting the scapula inwards. These muscles won't be very visible by the time we've added all the other muscles, but they will still be slightly visible by the end, so it's still good to know that they're there and what their function is. Next are the muscles that cover the scapula, which can be broken down into three groups. The supraspinatus, which takes up the small wedge of space at the very top of the scapula, the infraspinatus, which follows the inner border of the scapula and attaches right at the top of the humerus bone, and the teres major, which starts at the lowermost edge of the scapula and attaches a little further down the humerus. Technically, there's also the teres minor, which I've included here, but it's so small that it's not worth talking about. You can just think of it as being part of the infraspinatus muscle. The supraspinatus helps raise the arms, the infraspinatus helps rotate the arms laterally, aka outwards, while the teres major does both. It raises the arms and rotates them medially, aka inwards. Then there's the Sacrospinalis. Similar to the rhomboids, this muscle is going to be entirely covered by the time we're done, so it's not that important, but it is large enough that it's worth mentioning. It just gives more volume around the spine more than anything. The Sacrospinalis originates from the sacrum and attaches at the base of the skull, traveling right up the middle of the figure. This muscle is what helps keep us standing upright, but it also aids in moving the upper torso from side to side and moving the head backwards. Following this is the largest muscle of the back, the Latissimus dorsi, or lats for short. The Latissimus originates from the innermost curve of the iliac crest and follows the lower portion of the rib cage before attaching to the front side of the humerus bone. I'll repeat for emphasis, it attaches at the front of the humerus, not the back. This muscle also assists in moving the arms. It raises them in front, moves them out to the sides, and even helps rotate them inwards slightly. Just for clarity, here's the overall shape of the latissimus once it's been covered by the scapula and trapezius, as well as a layer of skin. Speaking of the trapezius, that's the last muscle on our menu. The trapezius, or traps for short, also originates from the base of the skull, similar to the sacrospinalis, and inserts along the acromion bones of the scapula, that's those ridges at the top, before attaching at the very bottom of the rib cage. This creates a large star or dagger shape. The trapezius also aids in moving the scapula and, by extension, the shoulders. It can elevate the shoulders by thickening at the top, retract the scapula inwards, thereby squaring the shoulders, rotate the arms upward as the traps press against the deltoids, and aid in tilting the head backwards, just as the sacrospinalis does. As a finishing touch, I'm going to go ahead and throw the deltoids and obliques onto our mannequin, as I already covered those muscles in my previous anatomy video. As you can see, none of these muscle groups will be very visible from the surface unless the figure happens to be very athletic, but it's still good to know the form and function of each, as they will be more visible in certain positions or when drawing more muscular characters. As usual, the photos shown throughout come from Classic Human Anatomy by Valerie Winslow. With the torso out of the way, I can now move on to the limbs. So, thanks for watching, and subscribe for more.